Admiral Kang Daeho stood on the bridge of the EDS horizon and stared at the stars ahead. His hands rested on the metal railing, steady despite the excitement buzzing through his chest. After 30 years in the military, he thought nothing could surprise him anymore. But this was different. This was humanity's first voyage beyond their own solar system. This was the moment everything changed. The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. Young faces, nervous faces, excited faces. They had trained for years for this moment. Earth had finally cracked faster than light travel, and the Horizon was the first ship to use it. Their mission was simple: investigate an alien signal detected 3 months ago. Proof that humans were not alone in the universe. Dr. Han Soo-jin walked up beside him, tablet in hand. She was the chief scientist on board, responsible for first contact protocols. Admiral, we're approaching the coordinates. 2 minutes to normal space, Kang nodded. Sound general quarters. I want everyone ready. The ship's alarm chimed softly. All across the horizon, crew members moved to battle stations. Not because they expected a fight, but because they had no idea what they were about to find. The view screen showed the swirling colors of FTL travel. Then with a flash it cleared. What they saw made everyone on the bridge freeze. A planet burned below them. Cities glowed orange and red, consumed by fire. The atmosphere was thick with smoke. Debris floated in orbit, pieces of what must have been satellites or space stations, and ships, dozens of ships fleeing the planet in every direction. My God, someone whispered. Kang's training kicked in. Scan everything. I want to know what happened here. Find out if there are survivors. The sensors officer's voice shook. Admiral, I'm reading weapons fire. Multiple contacts. There are ships attacking the refugee vessels. On the view screen, Kang watched a large transport ship try to escape the planet's gravity. It was massive, probably carrying thousands. Then a sleek warship appeared beside it. The warship was dark metal, covered in spikes and angular armor. It looked like something designed to kill. Energy beams lanced out and cut through the transport's hull. The ship broke apart. Escape pods scattered like seeds in the wind, but the warship methodically destroyed those too. Dr. Han covered her mouth. They're killing civilians. They're hunting them. Kang's jaw tightened. He had seen war. He had seen cruelty. But this was something else. This was genocide. Get me Captain Yoon now. Captain Yoon Ji-won commanded the EDS Indomitable, a destroyer that had accompanied the Horizon on this mission. Her face appeared on the comm screen, her expression hard. I see it, Admiral. Our orders are observation only, Kang said, though the words tasted like ash in his mouth. Yoon stared at him. Sir, with respect, I'm watching children die. Another transport ship appeared on the sensors, running hard from one of the alien warships. This one was smaller, probably a colony ship. Maybe 20,000 people on board. The warship was closing fast. Kang made his decision. Indomitable, intercept that warship. Put yourself between them and the transport. Yes, sir. Yoon's screen went dark. Dr. Han touched his arm. Admiral, we don't know anything about these aliens. We don't know their technology, their weapons, their... I know enough, Kang said quietly. I know murder when I see it. The Indomitable moved fast, engines burning bright as it positioned itself between the fleeing transport and the hunting warship. The alien vessel slowed, as if surprised. Then a transmission came through, translated by the ship's computer into broken English. Primitive vessel. Move. This does not concern you. Yoon's voice was steel. Negative. The transport ship is under our protection. Break off your attack. You dare command us? You are nothing. Move or be destroyed. Yoon didn't move. The Indomitable held position. The alien warship opened fire. Energy beams slammed into the Indomitable's shields. The destroyer shook but held. Human shield technology was new, barely tested, but it worked. Alarms blared across the bridge. Return fire, Yoon ordered. The Indomitable's railguns spoke. Solid metal slugs accelerated to incredible speeds, crossing the distance in seconds. They punched through the alien ship's shields and tore into its hull. The warship reeled, clearly not expecting such primitive weapons to hurt it. On the horizon, Kang watched the exchange. Launch fighters. Cover that transport. Lieutenant Commander Park Tae-sung led the fighter squadron. His voice crackled over the comm. Hawk Squadron launching. We've got your back, Indomitable. 20 human fighters screamed out of the Horizon's hangar bay. They were small, fast, and packed with missiles. Park led them straight toward the alien warship. which was now trying to maneuver around the Indomitable. The fighters opened fire, missiles streaking across space. Explosions blossomed across the alien ship's hull. The alien warship turned and ran. It had come to hunt defenseless prey, not fight an enemy that shot back. Kang let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Get that transport on board the Horizon. Move every survivor we can. The next 2 hours were chaos. The transport ship was damaged, its engines failing. The Horizon pulled alongside and extended docking tubes. Strange aliens stumbled through, scared and crying. They were tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large eyes. Their clothes were torn and burned. Dr. Han met them with a medical team. She tried to speak using the translation software, but mostly she just helped. The aliens were terrified. Some were injured. All of them had seen things no one should see. One alien, wearing what might have been official robes, approached Kang. The translator made his words sound mechanical. You saved us, why? You do not know us, Kang met his eyes. We didn't need to know you. We just needed to see you needed help. The alien's face twisted with emotion. I am Counselor Nira of the Talvari. My people are dying. The Drethkar came to our world 3 days ago. They demanded surrender. When we refused to become slaves, they began killing us. All of us, men, women, children. They will not stop until we are gone. Dr. Han's hands shook. Where is the galactic community? Where is the help? Nira laughed bitterly. The Galactic Council knows. They have known for 3 centuries as the Drethkar Dominion conquers world after world. But the Drethkar are strong. Fighting them is costly. So the galaxy watches and does nothing. They will watch as my people die too. Kang felt something cold settle in his chest. A galaxy that watched genocide and did nothing. He had seen enough wars to know what came next. Someone had to stand up. Someone had to say no. Take us back to Earth, he told his crew. Best possible speed. And send everything we've recorded. Every image, every scan, every second of footage. The world needs to see this. The journey home took 2 days. During that time, Dr. Han interviewed the Talvari survivors. She learned about their peaceful civilization, their art and music, their philosophy of harmony. She learned about the Drethkar, a warrior species that had turned conquest into their culture. She learned that 12 billion Talvari had lived on their homeworld. Now maybe a few million survived, scattered and hunted. When the Horizon arrived at Earth, the recordings were already playing on every news channel. Humanity watched the footage of the burning planet. They watched the warship destroy the transport full of civilians. They watched alien children die. The world stopped. People gathered in streets, in homes, in offices, and watched. Some cried, some raged, some sat in stunned silence. But everyone understood what they were seeing. This was evil. This was wrong. And Earth had just met it face to face. The UN Security Council met in emergency session. The debate lasted 6 hours. Some wanted diplomacy. Some wanted caution. Some said this was not Earth's fight. Minister Cho Hyun-woo, Earth's defense minister, stood before the assembly. He was a careful man, a patient man. But today his voice carried an edge that silenced the room. I have watched the footage, he said. I have seen children murdered. I have heard that the galaxy watches this happen and does nothing. I have heard that this is not our concern. But I say this. If we see murder and do nothing, we are complicit. If we have the power to stop evil and choose not to, we are cowards. We are humanity. We know right from wrong. And I say we act. The vote was not unanimous, but it passed. Earth declared war on the Drethkar Dominion. Admiral Kang watched the vote from his office. He knew what this meant. Earth had exactly 37 warships. The Drethkar had thousands. Humanity had been in space for less than a century. The Drethkar had conquered for 300 years. Captain Yoon came to his office after the vote. She didn't say anything at first. Just stood there looking out at the stars. We're going to lose people, she said finally. Yes, Kang said. A lot of people. Probably. She turned to look at him. Was it the right call? Kang thought about the Talvari children he'd seen die on the view screen. He thought about Counselor Nira's broken voice. He thought about a galaxy that watched and did nothing. Yes, he said. It was the only call we could make and still call ourselves human. Yoon nodded slowly. Then we'd better get ready. Because they're going to come for us now. Let them come, Kang said quietly. We'll be waiting. The Drethkar did not take Earth's declaration of war seriously. Admiral Kang knew this from the intelligence reports. The Dominion had received Earth's message and laughed. They sent a small force to punish the humans, only 5 warships. It was meant to be a lesson, not a real battle. Earth's fleet met them at the edge of Talvari space. 37 human ships against 5 Drethkar cruisers. The odds should have favored the aliens. Their ships were bigger, their weapons stronger, their shields more advanced. But they had never fought humans before. Captain Yoon commanded the battle from the Indomitable. She had studied every second of footage from their first encounter. She knew the Drethkar were arrogant. They expected enemies to break formation, to run, to die easily. Yoon planned to use that against them. All ships hold formation, she ordered. When they fire, do not break. Do not scatter. We advance together. The Drethkar opened fire first. Energy beams cut across space, slamming into the human ships. The EDS Soul took a direct hit. Her shields failed and her hull ruptured. 300 crew died in seconds. But the other ships did not break. They kept coming, now, Yoon said calmly. All ships full missile barrage. Thousands of missiles launched simultaneously. The Drethkar point defense systems engaged, shooting down most of them. But not all. Dozens got through, hammering into shields and armor. The human railguns followed, firing solid slugs at incredible speeds. The Drethkar shields, designed to stop energy weapons, struggled against kinetic impacts. Lieutenant Commander Park led his fighter squadron into the chaos. The small human craft dodged between the bigger ships, attacking from unexpected angles. The Drethkar had few anti-fighter defenses. They considered small craft beneath their attention. Park's pilots made them pay for that mistake. One Drethkar cruiser broke apart under concentrated fire. Then another. The remaining 3 tried to retreat, but Yoon had positioned ships behind them. There was nowhere to run. When the battle ended, all 5 Drethkar ships were destroyed. But the human victory came at a terrible price. 11 human ships were gone. 4,000 soldiers dead. Admiral Kang stood on the Horizon's bridge and looked at the casualty reports. Each number was a person, someone's child, someone's friend, someone's love. Sir, his communications officer said quietly, we're receiving a transmission. It's from the Galactic Council. The alien who appeared on screen was insectoid with multiple eyes and clicking mandibles. The translator identified him as Ambassador Vrel of the Karathi Union. Admiral Kang, Vrel said, his voice neutral. The Galactic Council acknowledges your recent military action. We request permission to send an envoy to Earth. There are matters we must discuss. 3 days later, Ambassador Vrel arrived at Earth with a delegation from the Galactic Council. Minister Cho Hyunwoo met them personally. The meeting took place in Geneva, in a conference room hastily modified for alien visitors. Vrel did not waste time with pleasantries. Your species has achieved something remarkable. You defeated Drethkar warships in your first major engagement. The Galactic Council is impressed. However, we must speak plainly about your situation. Please do, Cho said. The Drethkar Dominion controls 400 star systems. They field approximately 3,000 warships. Their technology is centuries ahead of yours. Their warriors are bred specifically for combat. You won one battle through surprise and tactics. You will not win the war. No one does. Cho nodded slowly. I see. And the Galactic Council suggests what? That we surrender? That we let them continue murdering the Talvari? We suggest you seek terms, Vrel said. Pay tribute. Acknowledge Drethkar dominance in this region. They may accept this and leave your homeworld intact. Or they may not, Cho said. Or they may not, Vrel agreed. But continued resistance means certain destruction. This is the reality of galactic politics. Some species are strong. Some are weak. The weak must accommodate the strong or perish. Minister Cho stood. Ambassador Vrel, would you and your delegation like to see something before you leave? The tour took 3 days. Cho showed them the shipyards of Shanghai, where massive construction facilities stretched for miles. He showed them the factories of Busan, where production lines worked day and night. He showed them the mines on Luna, the refineries on Mars, the automated extraction facilities throughout the asteroid belt. In Hamburg, Vrel watched as a car factory completed its conversion to military production. The aliens saw production lines that once built vehicles now assembling weapon systems and ship components. How long did this take? Vrel asked. 2 weeks, Cho said. We have 600 similar facilities across Earth, all converting to war production. On the final day, Cho took them to orbit above Earth. They watched as a new battle group launched from the shipyards. 40 ships, all built in the 3 weeks since the war began. Ambassador, Cho said quietly, humanity has 7 billion people. We have fought wars for thousands of years. We know how to organize, how to produce, how to sacrifice. The Drethkar have better ships. We will build more ships. They have superior technology. We will learn and adapt. They have warrior breeds. We have something they do not. What is that? Vrel asked. We are angry, Cho said. We saw what they did. We saw children die, and we will not stop until it never happens again. Vrel was silent for a long moment. You cannot sustain this. The economic burden alone will break us or make us stronger, Cho interrupted. Either way, we will fight. Thank you for your visit, Ambassador. Please tell the Galactic Council that Earth does not seek terms. We seek justice. As the delegation departed, Vrel sent a private message to the Galactic Council. His report was simple. The humans are insane. They see clearly that they will lose, yet they continue. Either they will destroy themselves in this futility, or they will somehow accomplish the impossible. I do not know which outcome is more disturbing. 6 months passed. Earth's industrial machine roared to life like never before. Colonel Lee Bora coordinated the massive conversion effort. Every resource humanity had went into the war. Asteroid mining increased tenfold. Shipyards expanded. New facilities opened on Mars and the moons of Jupiter. Engineer Sergeant Kim Jae-sung led the technical teams. They studied captured Drethkar technology, reverse engineering what they could. Human shields improved. Human weapons became more powerful. The ships were still crude by galactic standards, but they were effective. And there were more of them every day. Lieutenant Commander Park trained new pilots constantly. Young men and women arrived fresh from academies, eager and scared. Park remembered his own fear in that first battle. He taught them to use it, to channel it, to fly through it. 3 pilots for every fighter, enough to replace losses, enough to keep fighting. Dr. Han worked with the Talvari refugees. They shared their technology freely, grateful for Earth's help. Their shields were integrated into human designs. Their sensors improved human targeting. The partnership made both species stronger. The Drethkar noticed. Warlord Kren, commander of the Frontier Legions, received reports of human expansion. He was furious about the defeat of his scouting force. 5 ships lost to primitives. It was humiliating. He would not make the same mistake twice. Kren assembled a battle fleet. 200 warships, the pride of his command. He would crush these humans personally. He would burn their colonies. He would show the galaxy what happened to those who defied the Dominion. Admiral Kang received intelligence about the coming attack. 200 ships. His fleet now numbered 120 vessels, built in the frantic months since the war began. Still outnumbered, still outgunned, but no longer helpless. He called his senior officers together. Captain Yoon, Lieutenant Commander Park, Colonel Lee, all of them. They studied the tactical displays in silence. We cannot win a straight fight, Yoon said. Not against those numbers. Then we do not fight straight, Kang said. We use what worked before. We accept losses. We press the attack. We make them pay for every meter of space. Park shook his head. Sir, the casualties will be extreme. We could lose half our fleet. And if we win, we cripple their frontier forces, Kang said. Every Drethkar ship we destroy is one less hunting civilians. Every battle we win is time for more humans to build more ships. This is not about winning elegantly. This is about survival. The battle met at the Kepler station, a human outpost on the frontier. Warlord Kren's fleet emerged from FTL in perfect formation, a display of Drethkar military precision. The human fleet waited, spread out in loose clusters. Kren broadcast to the humans. I am Warlord Kren of the Drethkar Dominion. You have defied us. You have killed our warriors. For this you will all die. There will be no mercy, no surrender. You will simply cease to exist, Captain Yoon responded. This is Captain Yoon of Earth Defense Forces. You came to our galaxy and murdered innocents. You thought we would do nothing. You were wrong. Today you learn what happens when humanity says no. The battle began. It was brutal. Human ships threw themselves at the Drethkar formation in waves. They died. But they died fighting, their weapons blazing until the very end. For every human ship destroyed, concentrated fire took down a Drethkar cruiser. Park's fighters swarmed through the battle, hitting vulnerable points, disrupting formations. Kren watched his fleet take losses and could not believe it. These humans fought like madmen. 18 months into the war, everything changed. Admiral Kang stood in the command center and watched the tactical display. Hundreds of green dots represented human ships. For the first time since the war began, Earth had numerical superiority. The impossible had become real. "Sir," his tactical officer said, "all battle groups report ready. We have 3,200 vessels in total, 3,000 ships, more than the entire Drethkar Dominion, each one smaller and less powerful than their alien equivalents. But they were here and they were ready." Earth's industrial miracle had achieved what the galaxy thought impossible. Minister Cho appeared on the command screen from Earth. "Admiral, the UN has approved Operation Anvil. You are authorized to begin the offensive." Kang nodded. "We will not waste this opportunity. Humanity is done defending. Now we attack." The first target was Verath, a fortress world deep in Drethkar space. It was a military hub, home to shipyards and training facilities. Intelligence suggested 40,000 Drethkar soldiers were stationed there. Capturing Verath would cut Drethkar supply lines and show the galaxy that humanity could take the fight to enemy territory. Captain Yoon commanded the siege fleet. 500 ships surrounded the planet while ground forces prepared for assault. The orbital defenses were formidable. Energy cannons, missile batteries, shield generators. But Yoon had learned patience. She did not rush. "Begin bombardment," she ordered. "Target the shield generators first." For 3 days, human ships pounded the defenses. Railgun slugs fell like rain. Missiles streaked through the atmosphere. The Drethkar shields held, but they weakened. Engineer Kim had developed new EMP weapons specifically for this purpose. When they detonated, the shields flickered and failed in sections. Colonel Lee Bora led the ground assault. Her Special Forces units dropped through the gaps in the shields, hitting key targets. They sabotaged power stations, destroyed communication arrays, created chaos in the Drethkar command structure. It was brutal work, fighting in alien buildings against enemies who had home advantage. But Lee's soldiers were determined. The main assault came on day 4. 3 million human soldiers landed on Verath's surface. The Drethkar fought with desperate fury. Every street became a battlefield. Buildings exploded. Artillery thundered. Soldiers on both sides died by the thousands. Lieutenant Commander Park provided air support, his fighters strafing Drethkar positions. He had trained for this. Earth had trained for this. But nothing really prepared you for the reality of war. The screams on the radio, the explosions, the knowledge that every order might send someone to their death. On day 60 of the siege, the Drethkar commander surrendered. Verath fell. The cost was staggering. 7,000 human soldiers dead, 20,000 wounded. But they had won. Earth had captured its first enemy world. Admiral Kang visited the planet after the battle. He walked through the makeshift hospitals where wounded soldiers recovered. Human medics worked alongside Telvari healers, saving lives regardless of species. He saw the exhaustion on every face, the 1,000-yard stares of those who had seen too much. A young soldier, no more than 20, saluted him weakly from a hospital bed. "We won, sir?" "We won," Kang confirmed. "Good," the soldier whispered. "Make it worth it, sir. Make it mean something." Those words haunted Kang for days afterward. Make it mean something. How did you make 7,000 deaths mean something? How did you justify that cost? Captain Yoon struggled with similar thoughts. She sat in her quarters reviewing casualty reports. Every lost ship was 300 people. She had become good at the mathematics of death, too good. She could calculate acceptable loss ratios without feeling. That scared her more than the battles did. Her first officer, Commander Ryu, found her there at midnight. "Captain, you need to rest. How many today?" she asked. "Captain, how many, Ryu?" 412, he said quietly. Yoon closed her eyes. 412 people, each with names, families, dreams. "And how many, Drethkar?" 800. "Good ratio," she said automatically. Then she heard herself and felt sick. When had she started thinking like this? Dr. Han visited her the next day. The scientist had become a strategic advisor, but she still remembered her first calling. She sat across from Yoon and just waited. "I am losing myself," Yoon said finally. "Every decision is about numbers. How many can we afford to lose? What ratio makes victory worthwhile? I am becoming a calculator of death." "You are becoming a commander," Han said gently, "but you have not lost yourself. You are here asking these questions. The moment you stop asking is when you should worry. How do we live with this? When the war ends, how do we live with what we have done?" Han had no easy answer. "We remember why we fight. We honor those who fall, and we build a future that justifies their sacrifice. Meanwhile, the Drethkar High Command finally understood the threat. Supreme Warlord Kral, ancient leader of the Dominion, called his generals together. The holographic display showed the expanding human territory, system after system turning green. Drethkar space contracting. How is this possible? Kral demanded. They are primitives. Their technology is inferior. How are they defeating us? They have numbers, one general said. For every ship we destroy, 3 more appear. Our intelligence suggests they have converted their entire industrial base to war production. Then we destroy their production, Kral said. Commit the second fleet, 400 ships. Enough to burn their colonies to ash. The second Dominion fleet was the pride of the Drethkar military. The finest ships, the best commanders, the most experienced warriors. They gathered at the Meridian Nebula, preparing to strike at human territory. Admiral Kang received the intelligence from Talvari sources. The second fleet was coming. He assembled his own forces. 800 human ships, double what the Drethkar were sending. The galaxy was about to witness the largest space battle in its history. The 2 fleets met in the Meridian Nebula, a vast cloud of gas and dust that stretched for light years. The environment was treacherous, filled with radiation and debris, but it also provided cover, opportunities for ambush. Captain Yoon commanded the first wave. She led her ships into the nebula's depths, using the gas clouds as concealment. The Drethkar followed, confident in their superior sensors. They did not see the trap until it closed. Human ships emerged from every direction, surrounding sections of the Drethkar fleet. It was not one battle, but dozens, scattered throughout the nebula. Small unit tactics on a massive scale. The Drethkar formation broke apart, their coordination shattered. The battle lasted 3 days. Ships hunted each other through the glowing clouds. Railguns fired blind, guided by sensors and luck. Explosions lit up the nebula like lightning. Both sides took massive casualties. Lieutenant Commander Park's fighters played a crucial role. They could navigate the dense nebula more easily than the larger ships. They struck Drethkar vessels from unexpected angles. Disrupted formations provided targeting data for the human fleet. Park lost half his squadron in the first day, but they kept fighting. On the 3rd day, the Drethkar commanders realized they could not win. 2/3 of their fleet was gone. The humans, despite heavy losses, still had numbers. The second fleet retreated, fleeing the nebula in disorder. It was the first time in 3 centuries that a Drethkar fleet had run from battle. Admiral Kang surveyed the aftermath. His fleet had lost 300 ships, 90,000 dead, but the Drethkar had lost more. Their elite second fleet was shattered. Their reputation for invincibility was broken. News of the battle spread across the galaxy. Ambassador Vrel of the Karathi Union watched the reports with his many eyes wide. The impossible had happened. Humanity was winning. Other species, long oppressed by the Drethkar, began to take notice. If these humans could fight the Dominion and survive, perhaps resistance was possible. Small acts of rebellion began across Drethkar space. Sabotage, delayed shipments, secret intelligence passed to human forces. Counselor Nira of the Talvari approached Minister Cho with an offer. My people cannot fight. It goes against everything we believe. But we can build, we can teach, we can help. Let us contribute to this war that you fight for us. Cho accepted immediately. The Talvari had advanced technology and a gift for engineering. Combined with human production capacity, the partnership created ships that were both numerous and sophisticated. The gap between human and Drethkar technology began to close. Engineer Kim worked directly with Talvari scientists. They were brilliant, but had never designed weapons before. Kim found it strange at first, teaching peaceful aliens how to build instruments of war, but they learned quickly, their skills turning to military application. Why do you help us? Kim asked one Talvari engineer named Celis. Because you fought for us when no one else would, Celis said. You saw our children die and said no. You put yourselves in danger for strangers. How could we not help? 2 years into the war, the tide had fully turned. Human forces controlled 20 Drethkar systems. The Dominion was contracting for the first time in its history. Their fleets avoided direct engagement with human forces, trying to defend too many places at once. Supreme Warlord Kral received daily reports of defeats. Each one enraged him. The Drethkar were warriors. They were conquerors. They did not lose to primitives. But they were losing, and he did not know how to stop it. 2,000 warships gathered at the staging point. Admiral Kang watched them assemble, a fleet larger than anything humanity had ever created. Each ship carried soldiers, weapons, hope, and fear. This was Operation Reckoning. This was the moment that would decide everything. "Sir," his tactical officer said, "all battle groups report ready for FTL jump." Kang took a deep breath. 3 million soldiers were depending on his decisions. Back on Earth, 7 billion people watched and waited. The entire human species held its breath. "Execute Operation Reckoning," he said. All ships jumped to Drethkor system, but first they needed to confuse the enemy. Captain Yoon commanded the diversionary forces. While the main fleet headed for Drethkor, she led attacks on 6 different frontier systems simultaneously. The Drethkar scrambled to respond, pulling ships from their homeworld defense to counter the threats. Colonel Lee's special forces played a crucial role. Her commandos infiltrated deep behind enemy lines, sabotaging FTL communication nodes. Without faster-than-light communication, the Drethkar command structure fell into chaos. They could not coordinate, could not call for help. Each system fought alone. Lieutenant Commander Park led elite fighter squadrons in surgical strikes against supply lines. Ammunition depots exploded. Fuel stations burned. The Drethkar military machine, which had functioned perfectly for centuries, suddenly stuttered and failed. Engineer Kim's new stealth reconnaissance drones mapped every defensive position around Drethkor. The data they gathered was invaluable. Humanity knew where every gun was placed, where every shield generator stood, where every weakness existed. The main fleet emerged from FTL at the edge of the Drethkor system. Alarms blared immediately. The Drethkar home defense fleet was the most powerful force the Dominion had ever assembled. 1,000 ships, the best warriors, the finest technology. They had spent centuries building these defenses. No enemy had ever reached Drethkor. None ever would. The defense fleet's commander broadcast to the humans, "Turn back now. You cannot win. This is your only chance to survive." Admiral Kang responded simply, "We have come too far. Lost too many. No more running. No more mercy." Today the Drethkar answer for their crimes. The Battle of Drethkor began. The opening volley lit up the system like a new sun. Thousands of missiles streaked across space. Railgun slugs traveled at relativistic speeds, carrying enough kinetic energy to crack planets. Energy beams crossed the darkness. Ships died within the first minute. Hundreds of ships, the Drethkar fought with desperate fury. This was their homeworld. Their families lived on the planet below. They could not lose. Would not lose. Every warrior gave everything they had, but humanity had learned from 2 years of war. Their tactics had evolved. Their weapons had improved. And they had the numbers. For every human ship destroyed, there were 2 more to take its place. The math was brutal but simple. The battle raged for 6 days. Ships collided in the chaos. Debris fields became hazards as bad as enemy fire. Rescue operations saved survivors from destroyed vessels. Medical ships worked constantly, overwhelmed with wounded. Captain Yoon joined the battle on day 4, her diversionary forces arriving as reinforcements. She surveyed the carnage with exhausted eyes. Both sides had lost hundreds of ships. The space around Drethkor was a graveyard. "All units concentrate fire on Sector 7, she ordered. Her tactical mind still worked, still calculated, still found weaknesses to exploit. She had become very good at this. Too good. On day 6, the Drethkar defense fleet broke. Not because they wanted to. Not because they were cowards. But because they had nothing left. 3/4 of their ships were destroyed. The survivors were damaged, low on ammunition, exhausted. They could not hold. Admiral Kang broadcast to the planet. "Drethkor, this is Admiral Kang of Earth. Your orbital defenses have fallen. We will begin landing operations. Surrender now and lives will be spared. Resist and we will do what we must." Supreme Warlord Krall responded personally. His voice was filled with rage and disbelief. "We do not surrender. Come to our world. We will make you pay for every meter of ground. You will drown in your own blood before you take Drethkor." Colonel Lee prepared her forces for the surface assault. 3 million soldiers and dropships ready to invade an alien world. She had seen combat before, but nothing like this. This would be warfare on a planetary scale. The landing began at dawn, Drethkor time. Ships descended through the atmosphere, while point defense systems tried to shoot them down. Thousands of soldiers died before they even reached the ground, but more kept coming. Always more. The Drethkar capital was a massive city of dark metal and sharp angles. It sprawled for hundreds of kilometers, home to millions. The architecture was designed for war, every building a potential fortress. The streets were wide for troop movement. The whole city was one giant military base. Human forces landed on the outskirts and began the advance. The Drethkar fought for every street, every building, every room. They were fighting for their homes, their families, their entire civilization. They would not make it easy. The urban warfare was brutal beyond description. Artillery turned buildings to rubble. Snipers picked off soldiers from hidden positions. Ambushes killed entire squads. Both sides took horrific casualties. The city burned. Blood ran in the streets. Dr. Han accompanied the forces as an observer and advisor. She had insisted on coming, wanting to understand the Drethkar even in war. What she found surprised her. Among the ruins, she discovered evidence of their history. Museums, schools, homes. The Drethkar were not just warriors. They were people. She found records of Drethkar conquests. Worlds destroyed, species enslaved, cultures erased. The brutality was documented proudly as achievements. But she also found older records. Before the conquests began, the Drethkar had been different. Something had changed them, turned them into killers. Understanding them does not excuse them, Colonel Lee said when Han shared her findings. They stood in the ruins of a Drethkar library, surrounded by alien texts. They chose this path. They chose to murder. Understanding why does not make it right. No, Han agreed, but it helps us decide what to do next. If they can change, if they were not always this way, perhaps they can change again. The battle for Drethkar lasted 3 months. 3 months of constant fighting. The city was devastated. Whole districts were flattened. The Drethkar military was shattered. But still they fought. Every soldier, every civilian who could hold a weapon, everyone fought. Finally, human forces reached the high command fortress in the city center. It was a massive structure, built to withstand any attack, but it could not withstand weeks of bombardment and siege. The walls fell. Soldiers poured in. Admiral Kang entered the fortress personally. He walked through corridors filled with dead Drethkar soldiers. The fighting had been fierce until the very end. In the central command chamber, he found Supreme Warlord Krall. The ancient warrior was wounded but alive. He sat on his throne of metal, blood staining his armor. His eyes burned with hatred and something else. Respect, perhaps. Or just exhaustion. "You have won," Krall said. His voice was rough. "Now you will finish it. You will do to us what we did to others. You will show the galaxy that humans are no better than Drethkar." Kang stood before him, armed but not threatening. Behind him, Captain Yoon, Colonel Lee, Dr. Han, and Lieutenant Commander Park watched. His senior officers, his friends, the people who had fought beside him through years of war. "We could," Kang said quietly. "We have the ships. We have the weapons. We could turn your world to glass just as you did to the Talvari. Many of my people would call it justice." He paused, looking at the old warlord. "But we are not you. We did not start this war for conquest. We started it to stop murder. And we will not become murderers ourselves." Minister Cho appeared on a communication screen, broadcasting from Earth. He addressed not just Krall, but the entire Drethkar civilization. His words were translated and sent across every channel. "People of the Drethkar Dominion, Earth offers you terms: total disarmament, war crime tribunals for those responsible for genocide, monitored peace, enforced by humanity and our allies. You will rebuild. You will learn to be neighbors, not conquerors. This is not negotiable, but it is mercy." Krall laughed bitterly. "Mercy? The weak offer mercy because they fear becoming like the strong. You have beaten us, but you do not understand. Showing mercy is showing weakness." "No," Captain Yoon said, stepping forward. "Mercy is strength. Anyone can destroy. It takes power to show restraint. We have the strength to wipe you out. We choose not to. That is not weakness. That is humanity." Supreme Warlord Krall looked at each of them in turn, these humans who had destroyed his empire, who now offered him life instead of death. He did not understand them. But he was defeated. He had no choice. "I accept your terms," he said. "The Dominion surrenders." The words echoed across the galaxy. The Drethkar Dominion, conquerors for 3 centuries, had fallen. Humanity, barely 2 years into space, had won. The impossible had happened, but the victory felt hollow. Admiral Kang stood on the balcony of the High Command Fortress, and looked out over the ruined city. Smoke rose from 1,000 fires. The streets were filled with debris and bodies. This is what victory looked like. Devastation. Colonel Lee joined him. Her uniform was torn and stained. 5 years after the war ended, Admiral Kang stood at the window of his home and looked up at the stars. He was retired now, too old for active duty, too tired from years of command. But the stars still called to him. They always would. The cost of victory had been terrible. 400,000 soldiers dead, another million wounded, entire families destroyed by loss. The economic burden of the war had pushed Earth to its limits. But they had won, and slowly, painfully, humanity was healing. Captain Yoon had transferred to the newly formed Galactic Naval Academy. She trained the next generation of officers, teaching them tactics and strategy. But more importantly, she taught them to value every life, to see beyond the numbers, to remember that each casualty was a person, not a statistic. Her students came from dozens of species now. Humans, Telvari, Karathi, even some reformed Drethkar. The idea would have seemed impossible during the war. But peace made strange things possible. One day, a young Drethkar cadet approached her after class. His name was Kren, grandson of the famous warlord Kren. He was nervous, his body language showing uncertainty. "Captain Yoon, may I ask you something?" She looked at him. She had killed his people in the war, destroyed their ships, made decisions that ended Drethkar lives. But that was war. This was peace. Of course. Why did you spare us? My grandfather says humans had the power to destroy our world. Many of your people wanted to. Why show mercy? Yoon considered her words carefully. Because we did not fight for revenge. We fought to stop evil. Once you surrendered, once the killing stopped, revenge would have made us no better than what we fought against. We wanted a better galaxy. You cannot build that on ashes. The young Drethkar nodded slowly. My grandfather did not understand. He thought it was weakness. But I think I understand now. It takes strength to stop. Anyone can destroy. Building is harder. Dr. Han continued her work building bridges between species. She had founded the Institute for Galactic Understanding, dedicated to preventing future wars through communication and education. Her staff included scholars from 40 different species, all working to make sure the galaxy learned from its mistakes. She had written extensively about the Drethkar, not to excuse their crimes, but to understand how a species became what they were. Understanding, she believed, was the first step to change. The Drethkar had been victims once long ago. They had responded to their own pain by causing pain in others. Breaking that cycle was possible, but only with work and time. Lieutenant Commander Park, now promoted to colonel, had retired from active duty. He could not continue flying after what he had seen. The nightmares were too frequent, the memories too painful. Instead, he worked with veterans, helping others process their trauma. Every week, he met with a group of former soldiers. They talked about the war, about the friends they lost, about the things they had done, about the difficulty of adjusting to peace after years of conflict. Slowly, through shared pain, they healed together. It gets easier, he told them. Not easy, but easier. You learn to live with the memories, to honor the dead by living well, to find purpose beyond the war. Colonel Lee remained in active service, commanding the occupation forces on Drethkar. It was the hardest job in the galaxy. The Drethkar resented human presence. Incidents of violence occurred regularly. Some Drethkar refused to accept defeat. Some humans wanted harsher punishment. Lee had to navigate between both sides, keeping the peace while allowing change to happen naturally. Engineer Kim helped rebuild Drethkar's infrastructure. He worked alongside Drethkar engineers, teaching them to create rather than destroy. It was strange work. These same people had designed weapons to kill humans. Now they built hospitals and schools together. One day, a Drethkar engineer named Thrall approached him with plans for a new power system. It was brilliant, efficient, and entirely peaceful. Kim studied the designs with genuine interest. "This is excellent work," he said. Thrall looked uncomfortable. "I designed weapons during the war. Weapons that killed your people. I do not know how to do anything else. But I am trying to learn," Kim understood. "We all did things during the war. What matters is what we do now. Build this. Help your people. That is how you make it right." Minister Cho remained Earth's defense minister, but his role had changed dramatically. Instead of preparing for war, he worked to maintain peace. The Galactic Assembly, which had replaced the old council, met regularly to address disputes before they became conflicts. Cho served as the assembly's mediator, using his experience to find peaceful solutions. Ambassador Vrel of the Karathi Union had become a close friend. They met often, discussing galactic politics and planning for the future. "The galaxy owes you a debt," Vrel said during one meeting. "You showed us that doing nothing was worse than the cost of action. Species that were silent during the Drethkar conquest now speak up when they see injustice. You changed everything." Cho smiled sadly. "We paid a terrible price for that lesson. I hope the galaxy remembers it." On Earth, a memorial had been built. The Wall of Stars, they called it. It stretched for miles, containing 400,000 names. Every soldier who died in the war had their name inscribed on the black stone. People came from across the planet to visit, to remember, to honor. Admiral Kang attended the annual memorial ceremony. He was old now, his hair white, his steps slow, but every year he came. Captain Yoon stood beside him, bringing cadets from the academy. Dr. Han gave a speech about remembering the cost of peace. Colonel Lee, on leave from Drethkor, saluted the wall. Colonel Park placed flowers at the base of the wall, remembering his pilots. Minister Cho addressed the crowd, his voice strong despite his age. Engineer Kim stood with a group of young engineers, teaching them about those who had died so they could build. But the ceremony was not just for humans. Talvari came to honor those who fought for them. Other species whose homeworlds the Drethkar would have conquered sent representatives. Even some Drethkar attended, understanding that these humans had died to stop something terrible. Counselor Nira of the Talvari approached Admiral Kang after the ceremony. She was older too, but her people had rebuilt. Their population was growing. Their culture was thriving, because humanity had said no to genocide. "Thank you," she said simply, "for everything, for seeing our pain and refusing to look away, for paying such a terrible cost on our behalf. We will never forget." Kang touched the wall, feeling the names under his fingers. They would want to know it mattered. That is all any soldier wants, to know their sacrifice meant something. 20 years after the war, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. Trade routes connected hundreds of worlds. Mixed species crews served on ships together. The Galactic Assembly had real power to stop aggression before it started. Peacekeeping forces, commanded by humans but staffed by dozens of species, protected vulnerable worlds. The younger generation had grown up in peace. They knew the war only from history and stories. Lieutenant Park Junho, son of Colonel Park, served on a destroyer with Talvari navigators and Drethkar engineers. His father watched his career with pride and relief. His son would never have to make the choices he had made. Engineer Kim's daughter ran joint human-alien research facilities, developing technologies that benefited everyone. Minister Cho's protege, Representative Han Min-ji, served in the Galactic Assembly, continuing his work of building peace. But peace required vigilance. Long-range probes detected something disturbing. Deep in unexplored space, signs of expansion from another aggressive civilization. The galaxy had faced the Drethkar and won. Now it faced a new potential threat. Admiral Kwan, who had succeeded Kang, activated defense protocols. But this time, Earth did not act alone. The Galactic Assembly came together, pooling resources, sharing intelligence, preparing as one. If war came, they would face it together. Dr. Han led first contact teams, hoping to avoid conflict. Her experience with the Drethkar had taught her that understanding could prevent war. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes, it was worth trying. Admiral Kang watched these preparations from his retirement. He was too old to fight now. His war was over. But he trusted the next generation. They had learned the lessons. They knew the cost. They would do what was necessary. One evening, Captain Yoon visited him at his home. They sat together on his porch, looking up at the stars. They had both given so much to those stars, lost so much, gained so much. "Do you think it was worth it?" she asked quietly. "All of it. The deaths, the pain, the years of war. Was it worth the cost?" Kang thought about the Talvari children who were alive because humans fought, about the species that would never face genocide because the galaxy had learned to stand together, about the peace that had lasted 20 years and might last 20 more. "Yes," he said finally. "We paid a terrible price. But look at what we bought. A galaxy where species work together instead of preying on each other, where the strong protect the weak instead of exploiting them, where genocide is not tolerated, That is worth dying for. Yoon nodded. I hope the next generation remembers. I hope they never have to learn these lessons the way we did. They will remember, Kang said. We will make sure they remember. Not just the glory, but the cost. Not just the victory, but the pain. They need to know both. Inside his home on the wall hung a photograph.